Tommy Chen pressed his face against the cool window of the research station. Outside, the purple sky of Kepler 4482b stretched endlessly above the rocky landscape. Strange blue plants grew between the silver rocks, and 3 small moons hung like jewels in the alien sky. Tommy had lived here for 2 years, ever since his parents brought him to this distant world. His father Jake worked as a security commander, and his mother Lisa studied the strange life forms they found on this planet. The 8-year-old boy loved living in space, but sometimes he felt lonely. There were only 50 adults on the whole planet, and he was the only child. The grown-ups were always busy with their important work, leaving Tommy to find his own adventures in the safe areas of the station. That morning started like any other. Tommy ate breakfast with his parents in the small dining hall. His mother looked tired from staying up late with her research, and his father checked his communication device every few minutes. The mining team is going deeper into the crystal caves today, Jake told his wife. They think they might find some rare metals down there. Lisa nodded and sipped her coffee. Just make sure they stay safe. We still don't know everything about this planet. Tommy listened while he ate his cereal. The crystal caves sounded exciting. He had seen pictures of them on the computer screens. They were filled with beautiful colored crystals that glowed in the dark. The miners went there every day to dig for useful materials to send back to Earth. After breakfast, Tommy went to the education room where a computer taught him lessons about math, reading, and science. But he found it hard to pay attention. Through the window, he could see the mining vehicles driving toward the distant caves. He wished he could go with them and see the glowing crystals for himself. Around lunchtime, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Tommy looked up from his reading lesson as red lights flashed on the walls. He had never heard these alarms before. They sounded urgent and scary. His father's voice came over the communication system. All personnel to emergency stations. We have a situation in the crystal caves. Tommy left the education room and ran toward the main hall. Adults hurried past him, talking in worried voices. Someone mentioned an accident in the mines. Another person said something about a strange discovery. His mother appeared and took his hand. Tommy, we need to go to the safe room. There might be danger. What kind of danger? Tommy asked as they walked quickly down the hallway. We're not sure yet. The miners found something unusual in the caves. Your father is checking to make sure everyone is safe. They reached the safe room where other families waited. Tommy sat next to Mrs. Adams, who worked in the kitchen. She tried to smile, but he could see she was worried too. Hours passed before Jake returned to the station. His uniform was dirty, and he looked amazed and frightened at the same time. He gathered everyone in the main hall to explain what had happened. The mining team was working in the deepest part of the crystal caves, he began. They found something we've never seen before. It looks like a giant egg made of crystal and stone. People started talking at once, asking questions. Jake raised his hand for quiet. The egg is huge, about the size of our shuttle. It's been hidden in the rocks for who knows how long. But here's the strange part. It's warm and it glows from the inside. Dr. Martinez thinks something is alive in there. Tommy's eyes grew wide. A giant egg with something alive inside? This was better than any story he had read on his computer. His mother stepped forward. Jake, we need to study this carefully. If there's life inside that egg, it could be the most important discovery in human history. I know, Jake replied, but we also need to be careful. We don't know what will happen when that thing hatches. The next few days were the most exciting of Tommy's life. The grown-ups worked day and night to move the giant egg from the caves to a special room in the research station. They used robots and machines to lift it carefully, making sure not to damage it. Tommy watched through the windows as they brought the egg inside. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The surface looked like black glass mixed with silver metal, and bright orange light pulsed inside it like a heartbeat. Sometimes the light grew brighter and the whole egg would shake slightly. His mother and the other scientists set up cameras and computers around the egg. They measured its temperature and tried to figure out what was growing inside. The egg was definitely alive, and whatever was in there was getting ready to come out. The life signs are getting stronger, Lisa told Jake one evening at dinner. I think it will hatch soon. That night, Tommy lay in his bed thinking about the mysterious egg. What kind of creature could be so big? What would it look like? Would it be friendly or dangerous? He had so many questions, but no one had answers yet. Around midnight, new alarms woke everyone in the station. But these were different from the emergency alarms. These were the special alarms that meant something amazing was happening in the science labs. Tommy jumped out of bed and looked out his window. Through the glass walls of the research building, he could see bright flashes of light. The egg was hatching, and whatever was inside was about to enter their world. The discovery that would change everything was finally beginning. The hatching lasted 3 hours. Tommy pressed against his bedroom window, watching the bright lights flash inside the research building. Even from far away, he could hear strange sounds, cracking like breaking glass, then roars that made the station walls shake. When morning came, the lights had stopped flashing, but the adults all looked scared and tired. His parents came to get him from his room, and his mother's hands were shaking. "Tommy, we need to talk to you about what happened last night," Lisa said, sitting on his bed. "The creature that came out of the egg is very dangerous. You must promise to stay away from the research building." "What does it look like?" Tommy asked. He had been wondering all night, his father answered. "It looks like a dragon from the old stories, but much bigger and scarier. It has black scales, golden eyes, and wings. When it breathes, fire comes out that's hotter than anything we've ever seen." Tommy's eyes grew wide with excitement, but his parents looked worried. "The creature destroyed half of our equipment when it hatched," Lisa continued. "It hurt 3 of our scientists. They're okay now, but we had to put the creature behind our strongest force fields to keep everyone safe." "Can I see it?" Tommy asked. "Absolutely not," Jake said firmly. "This thing is not like the animals on Earth. It's intelligent, but it's also very angry. We think it might be the most dangerous life form humans have ever discovered." For the next 2 days, Tommy had to stay in the residential area while the adults figured out what to do with the dragon. He could hear them talking in worried voices about sending messages to Earth and asking for help. Some people wanted to send the creature away on a spaceship. Others thought they should try to study it. A few even suggested they should destroy it before it could hurt anyone else. But Tommy couldn't stop thinking about the dragon. Every night he dreamed about golden eyes and black scales. He wondered if the creature was scared, hatching in a strange place with no other dragons around. If Tommy woke up alone on an alien planet, he would be frightened too. On the 3rd night after the hatching, Tommy made a decision. He waited until his parents were asleep, then quietly left his room. The station was mostly dark during the night cycle, with only emergency lights showing the way. Tommy knew every hallway and corridor from his 2 years of exploring. The research building was supposed to be locked, but Tommy knew about the maintenance entrance that the repair robots used. He was small enough to crawl through the access panel and into the building. Inside, he could hear the dragon before he could see it. Low growls and the sound of something large moving around echoed through the hallways. Tommy followed the sounds, his heart beating fast with excitement and fear. The main laboratory was a mess. Broken equipment lay everywhere, and black burn marks covered the walls. At the far end of the room, behind 3 layers of shimmering force fields, was the dragon. Tommy had never seen anything so magnificent and terrifying. The creature was enormous, even though it was just a baby. Its scales were black as space, but sparkled with tiny lights like stars. Its wings were folded against its back, but Tommy could see they were huge. The dragon's eyes glowed like small suns, and when it breathed, small flames flickered around its mouth. The dragon was pacing back and forth behind the force fields, looking angry and frustrated. Every few minutes it would roar and breathe fire at the barriers. The flames were so hot they made the air shimmer, but the force fields held strong. Tommy stood watching for several minutes. The dragon was incredible, but he could see something else in its movements. Under all that anger, the creature looked lonely and confused. Its golden eyes darted around the room like it was looking for something it couldn't find. "Hello," Tommy said quietly. The dragon stopped pacing and turned toward the sound. Its massive head tilted to one side as it looked at the small boy standing near the broken equipment. "You're really big," Tommy continued, sitting down on the floor so he wouldn't seem threatening. "And really beautiful. I've never seen anything like you before." The dragon stepped closer to the force fields. Its eyes focused on Tommy with an intelligence that was almost human. But instead of roaring or breathing fire, it just watched the boy. "I bet you're scared," Tommy said. "I would be scared too if I woke up in a strange place with no one like me around." "My name is Tommy. What's your name?" The dragon didn't answer, of course, but it sat down on its haunches like a giant cat. Its tail, which was covered in spikes, curled around its feet. Tommy noticed something strange on the dragon's scales. There were dark spots that pulsed with an ugly purple light. They looked wrong somehow, like they didn't belong on the beautiful creature. Are you hurt? Tommy asked, pointing at the spots. Those marks on your scales look like they hurt. The dragon followed Tommy's gaze to its own body. When it saw the dark spots, it made a low, sad sound. For the first time since hatching, the creature didn't sound angry. It sounded like it was in pain. I wish I could help you, Tommy said. My mom is a doctor for animals and aliens. Maybe she could make those spots stop hurting. The dragon looked back at Tommy with something that might have been hope in its golden eyes. It took another step closer to the force fields until it was only a few feet away from the boy. That's when something amazing happened. Tommy felt a gentle touch in his mind, like someone putting a warm hand on his thoughts. Images began to appear in his head, not pictures he was thinking of, but new ones that came from somewhere else. He saw vast cities built among the stars, with dragons flying between towers that reached into space. He saw a great war with creatures made of shadow and darkness. He saw dragon eggs scattered across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. The images faded, and Tommy realized the dragon had been showing him these things. The creature could speak, but not with words. It spoke with thoughts and pictures. You're not just an animal, Tommy whispered. You're people like us. You're trying to tell me about your family. The dragon nodded its great head, and Tommy felt another warm touch in his mind. This time the images showed the dark spots on the dragon's scales, but now Tommy could see what they really were. They were tiny creatures like space parasites that had attached themselves to the dragon while it was still in the egg. They were feeding on the dragon's energy and causing constant pain. That's why you're so angry, Tommy said, understanding at last. Those things are hurting you and you can't get them off by yourself. The dragon's eyes filled with something that looked like tears. For all its size and power, it was just a baby that had been in pain since the moment it was born. Tommy stood up and moved closer to the force fields. Don't worry, he said. I'm going to help you. Tommy spent the rest of the night sitting with the dragon, learning to communicate through the strange mental connection. The dragon showed him more images. Memories of a time when thousands of dragons lived among the stars, building cities and exploring distant worlds. The dragon's name, Tommy learned, was something that sounded like cosmic wind, but Tommy started calling him Cosmos because it was easier to say. When morning came, Tommy knew he had to tell his parents what he had discovered. He ran back to the residential area just as his mother and father were waking up. Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something important about the dragon, Tommy said, bursting into their room. His parents looked surprised and worried. Tommy, you didn't go near the research building, did you? Lisa asked. Tommy took a deep breath. I talked to the dragon. His name is Cosmos, and he's not angry because he's mean. He's angry because tiny creatures are stuck on his scales and they're hurting him all the time. Jake and Lisa looked at each other with concern. Tommy, you shouldn't make up stories about dangerous animals, Jake said. I'm not making it up, Tommy insisted. Cosmos can talk with his mind. He showed me pictures of his home and his family. The dark spots on his scales are like space bugs that got on him when he was still in his egg. If we help him get them off, he won't be angry anymore. Lisa knelt down to Tommy's level. Sweetheart, I know you have a good imagination, but dragons aren't real. This creature is some kind of alien animal that we don't understand yet. Please just come and see, Tommy begged. Cosmos will show you too. He's really smart, smarter than people. After much discussion, Tommy's parents agreed to go with him to the research building. They brought Dr. Martinez, the head scientist, and 2 security guards. Everyone was nervous about getting close to the dangerous creature. In the laboratory, Cosmos was pacing again, breathing small flames and looking frustrated. But when he saw Tommy, the dragon immediately calmed down and sat near the force fields. Hello, Cosmos, Tommy said. I brought my parents to meet you.
Can you show them what you showed me?
The dragon looked at the adults with his golden eyes. Dr. Martinez stepped forward with his scanning equipment. The creature does seem to respond to the boy, he said, checking his instruments. Its stress levels dropped significantly when Tommy arrived. Look at the dark spots on his scales, Tommy said, pointing. Those are the things that are hurting him. Lisa moved closer with her medical scanner. As she examined the spots, her expression changed from doubt to amazement. These readings are incredible, she said. These aren't just marks on the scales. They're actually separate life forms, some kind of parasitic organism. They're attached to the creature's nervous system. That would explain the aggressive behavior, Dr. Martinez added. If these parasites are causing constant pain, the creature would naturally be hostile to any perceived threat. Tommy felt Cosmos touching his mind again. New images appeared, the dragon showing him how the parasites had been in the space around his egg for millions of years, waiting for something to feed on. When Cosmos began to develop, they attached themselves to him and had been draining his energy ever since. Cosmos says the space bugs have been on him since before he hatched. Tommy translated. They've been making him weak and sick his whole life. The adults looked skeptical, but Lisa's medical scans were confirming everything Tommy said. The parasites were definitely causing the dragon pain and affecting his behavior. Even if this is true, Jake said, how could we possibly remove those things? The creature won't let anyone get close enough to help. I can do it, Tommy said simply. Cosmos, trust me. He won't hurt me. Absolutely not, both parents said at once. But Dr. Martinez was thinking, actually, the boy might be right. Look at the creature's behavior. It's completely calm with Tommy here, but agitated when adults approach. Perhaps there's something about the child that the creature finds non-threatening. Over the next few hours, they developed a plan. Tommy would enter the containment area with special tools designed to remove the parasites. His parents would monitor everything from outside, ready to pull him out if anything went wrong. Tommy felt scared but excited as they lowered one layer of the force fields. Cosmos moved back to give him room, careful not to accidentally hurt the small boy with his size. Up close, the dragon was even more magnificent. His scales felt warm and smooth like polished stone. When Tommy touched his neck, Cosmos made a gentle rumbling sound like a huge cat purring. The parasites were disgusting little creatures that looked like purple slugs with too many eyes. They had buried themselves deep between Cosmos's scales, feeding on his life energy. Using the special tools, Tommy carefully removed them one by one. Each time a parasite came off, Cosmos seemed to feel better. The angry red glow in his eyes faded to a warm golden color. His breathing became calmer and the constant low growls stopped. The work took hours, but Tommy didn't get tired. He felt like he was helping his best friend feel better after a long illness. Cosmos helped by holding very still and using his mental connection to show Tommy where the hidden parasites were located. When the last parasite was removed, something wonderful happened. Cosmos's scales began to glow with their own light, soft and beautiful like starlight. His wings spread slightly, revealing patterns that looked like galaxies painted on the inside. Thank you, small friend, Cosmos said. And this time everyone could hear the words in their minds, not just Tommy. The adults outside the containment area stood in shock. The creature had just spoken to all of them telepathically, proving that it was indeed intelligent. You can all hear him now, Tommy said happily. I told you he was smart. Cosmos looked at the adults with new interest, no longer seeing them as threats. I am sorry for the fear I caused. The pain made me act without thinking. Tommy helped me remember who I am supposed to be. Dr. Martinez stepped forward slowly. We're sorry too. We didn't understand that you were suffering. Can you tell us about your people? Over the following days, Cosmos shared his knowledge with the research team. He told them about the great dragon civilization that had once spanned the galaxy, exploring new worlds and building wonders among the stars. A terrible war with creatures from outside normal space had scattered the dragons, sending their eggs to distant planets for safety. I may be the only one of my kind left, Cosmos said sadly. I have been alone since the moment I hatched. You're not alone anymore, Tommy said, placing his hand on the dragon's massive nose. We're your family now, Cosmos's mental voice filled with warmth. Yes, little brother, we are family. The bond between Tommy and Cosmos grew stronger each day. They could speak to each other across great distances using their mental connection. Cosmos taught Tommy about the stars and showed him wonders of science that humans had never imagined. Tommy taught Cosmos about human friendship, kindness, and the joy of having someone who cared about you. But their happiness wouldn't last long. Word of the dragon had reached Earth and ships were already on their way to Kepler 442b. Important people with important plans were coming, and not all of them had good intentions for Cosmos and his new human family. 6 months after Cosmos hatched, 3 large ships arrived at Kepler 442b. Tommy watched from the observation deck as they landed near the research station. The ships were bigger than anything he had ever seen, and they carried hundreds of important people from Earth and other human colonies. Admiral Patricia Stone was the leader of the group. She was a tall woman with gray hair and serious eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore a dark blue uniform covered with medals and ribbons that showed she had fought in many space battles. "I'm here to evaluate the alien, threat and determine appropriate action," she announced to the colonists. "This creature represents a potential danger to human settlements throughout the galaxy." Tommy didn't like her immediately. When she looked at Cosmos, her eyes were cold and calculating, like she was looking at a weapon instead of a friend. Dr. Martinez tried to explain that Cosmos was intelligent and peaceful, but Admiral Stone wasn't interested in listening. She brought her own scientists and military experts who had already made up their minds about what should be done with the dragon. "Intelligent or not, this creature is too powerful to be left uncontrolled," said Dr. Williams, the Admiral's chief scientist. "Our scans show it can generate temperatures hot enough to melt through our strongest metals. Its telepathic abilities could be used to manipulate human minds. It represents an unacceptable risk." But there was a problem with their plans. Cosmos refused to speak to any of the visitors from Earth. When they tried to communicate with him, he would simply lie down and close his eyes, pretending to sleep. He would only talk to Tommy and the original colonist who had helped him. This frustrated Admiral Stone greatly. She needed to understand the dragon's capabilities to write her report for Earth's government. After several days of failed attempts to communicate with Cosmos, she realized she had no choice but to work with Tommy. "Young man," she said to Tommy one morning, "I need you to translate for us when we speak to the creature." "His name is Cosmos," Tommy said firmly, "and he's not a creature." "He's my friend." Admiral Stone's expression softened slightly. "I understand you've formed an attachment to the alien, but you need to understand the bigger picture. There are billions of humans living throughout space now. If this dragon species decides we're a threat, they could destroy all our colonies." "Cosmos isn't like that," Tommy insisted. "He's kind and gentle. He would never hurt innocent people." "How can you be sure?" Admiral Stone asked. "You've only known one of these beings and he was just a baby. What happens when he grows up? What happens if we find others like him?" Tommy couldn't answer that question, and it worried him. Over the past months, Cosmos had grown larger and stronger. His mental abilities had also increased. Sometimes Tommy felt like his friend was holding back, not showing the full extent of his power. The formal meetings began the next day. Tommy sat between Admiral Stone and Cosmos in the research station's main conference room. Scientists and military officers from Earth asked question after question about dragon history, technology, and abilities. Cosmos answered patiently, sharing knowledge about his people's peaceful exploration of the galaxy. He told them about dragon cities built inside stars, where his people had learned to control stellar energy. He described their art, philosophy, and science that had developed over millions of years. "Your people sound very advanced," Admiral Stone said. "What happened to them? Why are there so few dragons left?" Cosmos's mental voice grew sad as he shared memories of the Great War. Strange creatures from the void between galaxies had invaded dragon space, beings that fed on life energy and left empty darkness behind. The dragons had fought bravely, but they were eventually overwhelmed. "My people scattered our eggs across the galaxy before the end," Cosmos explained. "They hoped that someday, when the danger passed, young dragons would hatch and rebuild our civilization." "How many eggs were scattered?" Dr. Williams asked, leaning forward with interest. "Thousands," Cosmos replied. "They were hidden on worlds throughout what you humans now call your territory." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. There could be dragon eggs on dozens of human-controlled planets waiting to hatch. Each one would contain a being as powerful as Cosmos. Admiral Stone stood up suddenly. "This changes everything. We're not dealing with a single alien creature. We're potentially facing the emergence of an entire species of incredibly powerful beings in human space." "That's wonderful news," Tommy said excitedly. "Cosmos won't be alone anymore. He'll have friends and family again." But the adults didn't look happy about this possibility. Tommy could see fear in their eyes as they imagined dozens of dragons awakening throughout human territory. Over the following days, the mood in the station became tense. The Earth officials held private meetings that Tommy wasn't allowed to attend. He could hear them arguing through the walls, debating what should be done about the dragon situation. Some wanted to find and destroy the dragon eggs before they could hatch. Others suggested capturing any new dragons for military use. A few even proposed abandoning the affected planets entirely. Tommy spent more time with Cosmos, who could sense the growing hostility from the Earth visitors. The dragon had stopped sharing information with them and only spoke when Tommy was present. "They're planning something bad, aren't they?" Tommy asked one evening as they sat together in Cosmos's enclosure. "Yes, little brother," Cosmos replied sadly. "I can feel their fear and anger. They see my people as a threat to be eliminated or controlled." "I won't let them hurt you," Tommy said, putting his arms around the dragon's massive neck. "You are brave and loyal," Cosmos said, "but you are still very young. There are limits to what even the kindest human child can do against the fears of adults." The crisis came to a head when Admiral Stone presented her preliminary report to the colony leadership. She recommended that Cosmos be transported to a secure facility on Earth for detailed study and potential military application. "The creature has proven cooperative so far," she said, "but we cannot allow such a powerful being to remain unsupervised in civilian territory. The risk is simply too great." "Cosmos isn't a thing you can just take away," Tommy protested, standing up in the adult meeting he had snuck into. "He's intelligent and free. He should get to choose what happens to him." Admiral Stone looked down at the 8-year-old boy with a mixture of annoyance and pity. "Son, this is a matter of galactic security. The creature's preferences are secondary to the safety of human civilization." "Then ask him," Tommy said boldly. "Let Cosmos decide for himself. If you're right about humans being good people, then give him the choice to stay or go freely." The room erupted in arguments. Some officials thought Tommy's suggestion was ridiculous. Others pointed out that forcing an intelligent being to do anything against its will would make humans look like the aggressors. Finally, Admiral Stone raised her hand for silence. "Very well. We'll ask the creature to choose, but if it chooses to leave, we'll need guarantees that it won't return as a threat." Tommy felt both hope and fear as they prepared for Cosmos's decision. His friend was powerful enough to leave any time he wanted, but Tommy knew that choice would mean they might never see each other again. The future of human-dragon relations would depend on what happened in the next few days, and an 8-year-old boy found himself at the center of one of the most important diplomatic moments in galactic history. The day before Cosmos was supposed to make his choice, everything went wrong. Tommy woke up to the sound of explosions and emergency alarms. Through his bedroom window, he could see strange ships attacking the research station. These weren't Earth military vessels, but sleek black ships that moved like hungry predators. "Tommy, get to the safe room now," his father shouted, running past with a weapon in his hands. "We're under attack." But Tommy didn't go to the safe room. Instead, he ran toward the research building where Cosmos was kept. If there was danger, his friend might need help. The hallways were full of smoke and flashing lights. Tommy could hear weapons firing and people shouting orders. Through the chaos, he heard Admiral Stone's voice on the communication system. "This is an unauthorized military action. Stand down immediately." Tommy reached the research building just as a group of soldiers in black armor broke through the main entrance. These weren't Admiral Stone's people. Their uniforms had different symbols, and their leader was a man Tommy had never seen before. "There it is," the leader said, pointing at Cosmos's enclosure. "The dragon weapon we've been tracking. Deploy the capture nets." Tommy realized these soldiers had come to steal Cosmos. They had special equipment designed to trap dragons, including nets that sparked with electric energy and devices that made a high-pitched whining sound. Cosmos was awake and aware of the danger. His golden eyes blazed with anger as the soldiers surrounded his enclosure. For the first time since his healing, the dragon looked truly dangerous. "Don't come any closer," Cosmos warned, his mental voice reaching everyone in the room. "I do not wish to harm anyone, but I will defend myself if necessary." The soldier leader laughed. "It can talk. Even better. Our buyers will pay extra for an intelligent dragon weapon." They began setting up their capture equipment around the force field barriers. Tommy could see that their technology was more advanced than anything the research station had. These people had been planning this raid for a long time. "Cosmos," Tommy called out, dodging behind broken equipment to avoid the soldiers. "I'm here." "Tommy, you must leave," Cosmos replied urgently. "These humans mean to enslave me. I cannot allow that to happen, but I do not want you to see what I must do." "What do you mean?" Tommy asked, but he could already feel something changing in his friend's mind. The gentle warmth he was used to feeling from Cosmos was being replaced by something vast and powerful. The soldiers activated their capture nets, sending electric webs toward the dragon. But as the nets touched Cosmos's scales, something incredible happened. The dragon's entire body began to glow with stellar fire. His wings spread wide, revealing patterns that looked like entire galaxies. His eyes became like small suns, and the air around him shimmered with heat. "Impossible," the soldier leader gasped. The intel said it was just a large reptile. Cosmos rose to his full height, which was much larger than anyone had realized. In the confines of his enclosure, he had always kept himself small and unthreatening. Now Tommy could see his friend's true size and power. The dragon's voice, when it came, was no longer gentle. It carried the authority of a being whose people had once ruled among the stars. "I am Cosmos, last son of the star dragons. You will not cage me or use me as a weapon. Leave this place or face the consequences of your greed." Instead of listening, the soldiers brought out bigger weapons. They fired nets made of metal that crackled with energy, and beams of light that were meant to stun the dragon. Nothing worked. Cosmos simply stood in the middle of their attack and let their weapons break against his scales. Then, with careful precision, he began to show them why dragons had once been the most powerful species in the galaxy. Fire erupted from Cosmos's mouth, but it wasn't ordinary fire. It was stellar flame that burned hotter than the surface of a star. The soldiers' weapons melted like ice in summer. Their armor became too hot to wear, forcing them to retreat. But Cosmos wasn't finished. He reached out with his mind and took control of the soldiers' own technology. Their ships, which had been hovering outside the station, suddenly turned their weapons away from the research building. Their communication systems began broadcasting Cosmos's words to every human vessel in the area. "I could destroy you all without effort," the dragon said, his mental voice reaching across space. "Your weapons cannot harm me. Your technology is like toys compared to the power my people once wielded. But I will not kill you because that is not who I choose to be." With a gesture of his wing, Cosmos sent the attacking ships flying away from the planet. He didn't hurt the soldiers, but he made it clear that they were completely outmatched. Within minutes, the black ships were fleeing toward deep space. Tommy stood in the ruined laboratory, amazed and a little frightened by what he had seen. His gentle friend had just demonstrated power that was almost godlike. For the first time, Tommy understood why the adults were scared of dragons. Admiral Stone and her people arrived at the research building to find the attacking soldiers tied up with metal that Cosmos had shaped with his mind. The dragon was sitting calmly in his enclosure, looking exactly as peaceful as he had before the attack. That was a faction of human military extremists, Admiral Stone explained to the assembled colonists. "They've been monitoring our communications and decided to steal the dragon for their own purposes." She looked directly at Cosmos. "I have to ask, is this your normal level of power, or were you holding back before today?" "I was holding back greatly," Cosmos admitted. "I did not want to frighten my friends or make you think I was a threat. But when someone tries to enslave me, I will show them what a dragon truly is." The demonstration had changed everything. The Earth officials could no longer pretend that Cosmos was just a powerful animal that could be controlled or contained. He was clearly a being whose abilities far exceeded human technology. "The question remains," Admiral Stone said carefully, "what do you intend to do with this power? Will you use it against human settlements?" Cosmos looked at Tommy, who nodded encouragingly. "I choose to stay here," the dragon said, "not as your prisoner or your weapon, but as your friend and ally. Tommy taught me that humans can be kind and loyal. His family helped heal me when I was in pain. Why would I harm people who have shown me such goodness? But what about other dragons?" Dr. Williams asked. "When the other eggs hatch, how do we know they'll be peaceful?" "Because I will teach them," Cosmos replied. "Just as Tommy taught me about human friendship, I will teach my awakening brothers and sisters about the good humans I have met. Together we can build something better than either of our species could achieve alone." Tommy stepped forward. "I want to help too. I can talk to the new dragons when they hatch, just like I talked to Cosmos. Maybe other human kids can do it too." Admiral Stone considered this for a long moment. "You're proposing a partnership between our species, with children serving as the first ambassadors?" "Why not?" Tommy said. "Kids aren't scared of things that are different. We just want to make friends." Over the following weeks, they worked out the details of a new agreement. Cosmos would remain free but would help Earth's government locate and safely hatch the other dragon eggs. Tommy would train other human children to serve as dragon ambassadors, teaching them how to communicate with the newly awakened dragons. In return, The dragons would share their knowledge of science and space exploration, helping humanity become a true spacefaring civilization. They would also help protect human colonies from threats like the void creatures that had once destroyed the Dragon Empire. The first new dragon egg was found on a mining planet 3 months later. Tommy and Cosmos traveled there together on Admiral Stone's ship. When the egg hatched, a small girl named Lucy was the first to make contact with the new dragon, just as Tommy had done with Cosmos. As more eggs were discovered and more children learned to speak with dragons, something wonderful began to happen. The partnership between humans and dragons grew stronger. Dragon science helped humans build better ships and cities. Human kindness helped dragons remember the joy and wonder they had lost during their long exile. Tommy grew up to become the first official dragon speaker, a new kind of diplomat who helped both species understand each other. Cosmos became his partner in this work, traveling throughout human space to meet new dragons and help them find their place in the galaxy. Years later, when Tommy was a grown man with children of his own, he would tell them about the day he met an angry dragon baby and chose to offer friendship instead of fear. That simple act of kindness had changed the course of galactic history, proving that sometimes the smallest gesture can have the biggest impact. The partnership between humans and dragons eventually grew into something neither species had expected, a new kind of civilization that combined human creativity with dragon wisdom. Together they explored distant galaxies, built cities among the stars, and showed the universe that different species could not only coexist but thrive together. And it all began with a lonely boy who wasn't afraid to talk to a dragon.